Hey everybody, this is Barrett Rodda. I am the owner of Rodda Films, formerly known as StoryShort Films, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank those of you listening for giving this podcast a try. What you're about to hear is my very first episode, so I really hope that you like it, and I hope you continue to tune in. Before we get started, I just wanted to share kind of the reason why this podcast came to be. So for those of you that know my business, when I was doing StoryShort Films, I was focusing more on short documentary format videos. And the great thing about that was it allowed me to interview my clients and their clients and some of their employees. And I really enjoyed the interview process and getting to know them on many different levels. And so with me making a change with Rodda Films into more commercial work, shorter format, more cinematic driven pieces, I'm going to miss doing interviews and really getting to know my clients on that level. And so I wanted to do a podcast so that I was able to do that. In addition, I wanted to give back to the business community, especially out here in Danville, where the community really embraced my company and really embraced me and allowed me to really thrive. And so I'm hoping that this is a great tool for other business owners and entrepreneurs to not only connect with those in the community, but also to hopefully learn something and then maybe eventually teach us something as well. So again, I really hope that those listening enjoy this. Please share it, get it out to your friends and family and other business people. And I really just hope that it takes off and that it's a great tool for people. So this episode is Zae Perrin. He is the owner of RZP Consulting. He's also the president and CEO of the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce. Hope you enjoy, and let's get it started. How's it going, Zae?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good. So just so you know, I just talked to the network and we've already been canceled.
Yeah.
So
goes to figure.
Yeah. So this is actually just for fun. There's nothing that's going to come from this. So
awesome.
Yeah. So enjoy it.
So it'll be much like the Super Bowl.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. That was. What'd you think about that?
Had to have been the worst Super Bowl ever. Yeah. It was miserable.
Yeah. Was it kind of a situation where you're just waiting for it to get done?
Yeah, it was. And I think that the only thing that really kept it together was playing squares, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody had their squares, and it was really this battle of, is it going to be 0-0 still? Is it going to be 0-3? Is it going to be 3-3? Outside of that, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I wonder, I just wonder what the, not that I care too much, but it is always kind of an interesting thing what the ratings end up being, and, when people tapped out or if they stayed for the whole thing or what have you, because that was pretty, and the commercials really weren't that great either. So
yeah, commercials were horrible. I saw a lot of folks on Facebook jumping over to the Puppy Bowl. So
yeah,
you never know, but
yeah,
I mean, at the house that I was at, there were 7 screens going with the football game on. So it has to help with the ratings somewhat.
Right. Exactly. Well, so what I want to ask you, so RZP Consulting, excuse me. So tell me about that.
So it's kind of a birth from my experiences. I started my career down in San Diego working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I went to school so that I could become a judge, and then realized that I wasn't going to change anything in our judicial system. And so I was like, okay, I need to make some money. I had already finished playing football at San Diego State, and I wasn't playing in the pros because I had a car accident. So I was like, okay, where am I going to make my millions? So I started working with Enterprise with this hope and dream that, I was going to run the whole show myself. And that gave me the opportunity to go out to Germany, help them open their business in Germany. So I got to see a completely different culture. I went from, Enterprise kind of almost like a frat type of atmosphere. Everyone's college grad, they're young, they're all striving and driving. You have this energy and you're just trying to break down all the walls and do it. And you get out to Germany with that same American mentality, and then boom, you run into a German wall of, well, no, work-life balance is the most important thing. No, we don't work on weekends. No, you can't drop off your dry cleaning at 5:50. We close at 6. And since we close at 6, we have to start closing at 5:30. So no, we aren't going to help you. And to look at it from the American side of that's absolutely ridiculous, then to really understand the culture and understand, well, why is that ridiculous? Maybe that is right. And maybe you have to change your philosophy and really learn and see what's going on. So I had the opportunity to really go deep into, okay, well, what's business all about? And what is success? And how do you create that success? And how do you do it across different cultures? So that's when I really started looking at the culture of business and helping businesses with that culture. Because at the same time that I was in Germany trying to figure out how I was going to bring this American philosophy and thought process, at the same time I had Germans asking me, okay, well, how do you get successful with customer service in a country where we don't look at service, we don't expect service, we expect it, but we don't get it. So how do we do that? How do we interchange it? So I started doing public speaking. I started helping the different dealerships that I was working with in customer service, and really started presenting this model of, okay, well, this is how you engage people, regardless of if they're German, they're Turkish, they're American, doesn't really matter. This is how you engage people, and this is how you engage people as a manager or as a leader. So then I utilized that, and from that, RZP Consulting was born.
Very cool. And kind of give us an idea of what your client base looks like. You know, who are your, you know, who do you normally or mostly work with, I would say?
Mostly small businesses, small to medium. I've done everything. I've utilized those same concepts for enterprise, of course. I used them for Target when I worked with Target. And I use it's kind of the philosophy that I have behind helping people, teaching people to fish in everything that I did while I was at Target. Because Target was also a different culture. You're talking about having employees that are part-time, that are seasonal, that are full-time. They've been in the same position for 20 years, and they don't want to go to the next level. And then you got people there that they've been there for 4 months, and they're like, hey, come on, what do I got next? So all the way up to that scale, but the majority are between 5 and 500 employees.
Wow. And what are some things that you have learned? So you obviously are in the business of teaching, right? But you're also in the business of learning. So what are some things that you've learned from clients or learned from those that you've mentored or worked with?
I think the biggest thing for me has been, you know, everyone wants to write their own destiny. And I want everyone to do that. But in doing it, you also have to understand that until you control that destiny, someone else is going to edit it. So you have to be comfortable with wherever you set yourself. If you're going to allow somebody else to edit it, then you have to be ready for the edits. And you have to be able to just move and transition and work through it.
Yeah, that's great. So I mean, so considering RZP Consulting, I mean, what made you want to get into that business? I mean, because you shared, you know, what you learned through enterprise and all that, but, you know, there's something bigger to wanting to, you know, help other people reach their dreams and goals. So what is that for you?
Well, I think that's really it. It's helping people. I've always been that person. And I think a lot of it comes from, you know, my background. I was raised by a single mom. You know, I'm of mixed race, and I didn't have a lot of people that wanted to help me. I had a lot of people that wanted to shut doors on me. So the people that did help me gave a resounding impact. You know, I think that the first thing that I think back to is I was 7 years old, and I was a very independent kid. I walked home from school at 7. Because I was tired of walking home with the babysitter. And I remember going to 7-Eleven. I had whatever money I had, and I had bought a Slurpee, X-Man cup Slurpee.
Nice.
And, you know, Wolverine was my guy, and I was 100% into X-Men. And I had my Slurpee, and I walked out of 7-Eleven, and these 3 kids walked up to me, and one said something, and I turned my head, and the other one clocked me right in the mouth.
Wow.
Took my Slurpee and beat the crap out of me. So I was 7 years old. It was the first time I was jumped. It wasn't the last time I was jumped.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was probably, it seemed like an hour, but it was probably about 2 minutes later. This guy walks up, he picks me up, takes me into 7-Eleven, buys me a Slurpee. And so that was, you know, that was the first impact of, okay, you can get knocked down, you can get beat up, but somebody's going to help you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, then you got to help yourself.
Yeah.
But that help is out there, so why not be that helping hand for everyone else?
Wow. That's great. I had no idea about that. I'd like to see them try to jump you now.
Yeah. It'd be a much different result.
What are you, like 6'5",
265.
Geez, yeah. Good luck with that. What were some struggles that you might have had like earlier? And then we're always learning and facing obstacles and overcoming them or trying to, but what were some struggles that you experienced early on with RZP Consulting?
I think the biggest struggle was, not quote unquote succeeding, right? It's, how often do you have to go to a mixer, or how often do you have to reach out to people and cold call and talk to them about what you do and why it benefits them, and especially for my business, I consult on, how to improve yourself, how to manage people, how to develop them, how to improve your business. And while everyone wants to do that, no one wants to say that they need to.
Yeah.
So how do you get that connection? And so that was really my struggle from the beginning was, okay, how am I going to make enough money to support my family in doing this? And how am I going to still be able to write that script when I talk about my own destiny and not have someone else edit it? What about you? I mean, you're running a small business. What type of struggles have you run into?
Well, I mean, I think probably the gamut of all the usual ones. Trying to wear too many hats, saying yes to everything, not being organized, and kind of making the excuse that I'm a creative type and that, I'll just hire somebody. But, there's things you do have to learn how to do certain things like for your business. And then at some point you do, have to hire them out, but you do have to, learn how to, like build a structure and learn how to balance your budget and balance your books and kind of all those things. And so, I mean, I'm sure most people have struggled with those same things, but I think definitely the biggest thing is just saying yes to everything and not learning to kind of be, and fortunately I'm in a position now where I can do that, but early on I wasn't. So speaking of that, what are some, or what is some advice that you'd like to give kind of a new small business owner or an entrepreneur, like just to get started?
I think for me, the biggest thing, because when I look at a business, I look at their vision, I look at their mission, I look at their values, and I look at their processes and their plan. So, when you're starting a new business, you're like, okay, these are the things I have to do, right? You have to have your business plan. You have to license your business. You have to take those steps. Well, what I would advise is when you're making that plan, take the time, make an actual plan. Look at what that vision for you and your business is. Look at what your mission is and how you're going to achieve that vision. And look at the values and that value proposition that you're adding to that so that your behaviors equal your goals and they bring you closer to them. Because a lot of folks, they put together their business plan and they're like, okay, done, and put it to the side. Well, you have to be able to go back to that. You have to be able to have that structure for yourself so that you make sure that you're achieving those goals or you're improving upon those goals or you're setting yourself up to achieve those goals in some point in time.
And what are some of like the common struggles that you see from your clients?
Well, you touched on the majority of them.
Mm-hmm.
Saying yes too much,
Mm-hmm.
not setting a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
You have to draw that line in the sand, whether it comes to your work-life balance or how you're communicating, and what you're going to say yes to and what you're not going to say yes to. I think those are the biggest things. You know, everyone says that they don't have time, but they don't make time,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't realize their own value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the really important things for a small business, owner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, set your value
Mm-hmm.
and recognize your value, because once you set your value and you know that, you know, you expect to make $100, $150, $400 an hour, well then go ahead and set that price tag in whatever you're doing. And if you are doing something that doesn't bring you that money, then why are you costing yourself that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's huge because, you know, yeah, like I said early on, there was times when, you know, I was struggling, you know, with pricing, and, you know, you struggle with, you know, they don't want to do it for this amount. So you go, okay, well, I can kind of justify this in my mind. And yeah, it's just a lack of boundaries because you want to work, you know,
Yep.
and, you know, it wasn't so much, I guess, about the money per se. It was like, you want, you know, for me being a filmmaker, I want to work, I want to put stuff out.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so you're like, well, that sounds like a great opportunity. I would love to put my take on that and turn it into something. And yeah, it took a while for me to learn to say, no, that's, you know, that's, whether it doesn't fit my schedule, or, you know, because I have too much already going on, or, you know, it just doesn't sound like something that's in my wheelhouse, or that's in my niche. So it's great that you shared that, because I think that's where, I mean, just talking to other small business owners and entrepreneurs, that's the biggest thing that they themselves, and some of them still do, you know, because it's like, it's hard to say no because you want to keep working, you want, you know, more business coming in. So,
well, and it's hard because you invest all that time to get that opportunity to talk to someone,
yeah,
and to close that business.
yeah,
So then you're like, okay, I'm going to close it. And they're like, yeah, so that sounds pretty good, but I don't know, that's kind of expensive.
mm-hmm.
Can you also do this?
Mm-hmm.
And can you do this? And, you know, well, I also need to do this over here. Oh, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can do it, but you shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are some things that you wish you could tell your younger self, whether it's personal or like in business? Because that's, you know, again, coming back to the stuff I learned that I wish I knew then, right? What is that for you?
I think for me, really looking back on it, is don't take it personal. Especially if you're a goal, or if you're like a competitive person, you know, you can't take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
And think of it really as a competition.
Mm-hmm.
Set yourself up for success. And, you know, I look at it as everything that I do, I try to do it so that I'm beyond reproach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is he the best at this? Is he the best at this? Well, I'm going to strive to be the best at every single thing,
mm-hmm.
so that there's no question.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question to my value. There's no question to my ability.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I strive for. Because if I do that and I just focus on that, and I don't take anything personal, then it's just one person's decision, because that's really what it comes down to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the subjective versus the objective.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the personal side out, and then it's all just about business.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have folks who approach me and they're not the right fit.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't take every client.
Yeah.
And I don't get taken by every client. So
Yeah.
it works out both ways.
That's great. So Zae, what are some books or seminars, coaching classes that you've gone to? Because I imagine a coach has a coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some resources that a small business owner or an entrepreneur might look into that might help them get started?
You know, I've been to a lot of different seminars. I've done Zig Ziglar's. I've done the gamut. But I think that when it comes to a publication, what I've always fallen back on is the 1 Minute Manager by Blanchard and Johnson. You know, and it's really about the most poignant part for me is the best 1 minute that you can spend is a minute investing in somebody else, help somebody else. And it just breaks down how to be a successful manager and how to do it quickly, and always be on for that 1 minute, because everyone can give 1 minute. So look at everything in 1 minute parcels, right? Okay, what's our goal today? Boom. Here's our goal. Let's talk about it. Let's address it. Let's make sure that our behaviors will help us to achieve that goal. Now that we have that goal, let's work towards it. Well, you did it right. Awesome. High five. Good job. Whatever it is that I can show you that my praise for you is genuine, then I need to do that. And I do it by us establishing the goals together. And at the same time, that reprimand. Whoa, no, Barrett, no. You can't do it that way. Remember, we discussed this. We did this. But I got you. The next time, it's going to work out right. Right? So there, in less than a minute, I reprimanded you, told you what you did wrong, but I also brought it back. Here to support you. We know how to do it right. Let's do it. So because it's through that interaction, that communication, and very quickly, that brings that result. And then we both get to revel in the achievement of that. Right? So if we do it, the same philosophy in sports, that's why people love football so much. Because it takes all 11 people in each one of the teams, so all 33 on the team, plus all of the alternates and everyone else, to do that one thing for that 1 minute. And to know what that goal is, and to work on achieving it, and taking your reprimand and adjusting. So when everyone does that, they win a Super Bowl. So that's why that elation is there, because that's how you have that interaction.
Serious question. Did you work for the Patriots at any point?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah, that sounds something very Belichickian.
Well, I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm a Steelers fan. Been a Steelers fan since I was 3 years old. But I love the Patriot system, and this is why. It's all about fundamentals. And when you break everything down, that's really what it's about. I coach football, I coach cheer, I coach basketball, very active in my kids' sporting lives, but also the other kids in the community. And all I talk about are fundamentals. Because how can I tell you to run whichever play I call if you don't know how to get in a stance? If you don't know that we're going to hike the ball on one, and that means we're going to say down, set, hike, right? We aren't going to say one. So if my words don't equal my behaviors or my actions or what I'm asking you to do, then how do I expect you to do it the way that I expect you to? Right? So you have to break it down. And if you break everything down to those fundamentals, whether it's in sports and athletics or in business, you do those fundamentals correctly, then everything else comes out right. And then you're successful in it. Right? I always laugh at, if you just listen to some of the words that people say when it comes to football, smash him. Okay, say that to a 4-year-old. What do? They pick up something and they smash them. Now, is that really what you wanted them to do?
No.
Okay, then don't tell them to do it. Right? So teach them to buzz their feet. Don't tell them to have quick feet. Well, what's that mean? You're going to have quick feet? I don't, my body can't make my feet quick. But if you tell me to buzz my feet, I can understand that. Because it's going to make a sound. Buzz, and I'm going to move them. I'm going to move them fast. Okay, that I can understand. Sink your hips, right? Not get down low. Because if I get down low, what do I get down low with? My head. Do we want kids to put their heads down? No.
Definitely not.
We want them to sink their hips, because if they sink their hips, then automatically their head goes down. Now, you sunk your hips, follow through with your shoulder. That's it. That's how you tackle. Right? So if we use the right words in business, it's the exact same thing. Right? Let's set our goals for the day. What are our expectations? Okay. So If our expectation is that we're going to bring in this amount of customers, what do we have to do to get there? So let's set those second goals. Okay, I'm going to make 15 phone calls today, and these are the expectations that I have from the phone calls. I'm going to go out, I'm going to have coffee with these 3 people, and in those meetings, this is what I'm going to achieve. And everything is about what I'm going to achieve, right? If you want to change the overall philosophy and makeup of what you're doing and what the person across from you is doing, don't say, so what's up today? Say, what are you going to achieve today? Because now it's completely different, but it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same question. It's just the words that you use and the words that people take.
Gotcha. Now, kind of transitioning to, so you were the Danville Area Chamber president?
Correct.
Or CEO?
President and CEO.
President and CEO. And how long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing it for 14 months now.
Wow. And what would you say the highlight is?
The highlight is getting people together and watching their businesses grow and knowing that you had a positive effect on not only their business, but the business that they're doing business with. That for me is the best thing, you know, to have our businesses grow and, hey, you know what? I just hired my first employee. That for me is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like my kid, you know, scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. And you know, what are some things that so that's the great side of the chamber, and there's been a lot of really great stuff that you have done and that, you know, that you've been able to achieve in the 14 months or so that you've been doing it. But you know, what are some misconceptions about the chamber? Because I think that's in any town, and I had them a long time ago when I was working for a gym. You know, it was kind of like the chamber at that point. The kind of the thought process through our building was that you know, because the chamber wanted us to join, and it was kind of like, oh well, they don't really do much. But this is, of course, is in another town, so that's a different story. But yeah, what are some misconceptions that people have, whether they don't join the chamber or they join it and they kind of become unhappy?
Well, I think the biggest thing is what your expectations of the chamber are, right? So for one, a lot of folks don't know what a chamber is. Two, a lot of folks are told, oh, you got to join the chamber. So then they do that and they expect that they're just going to get business because of it. And then some think that the chamber is going to do it. Meaning, okay, I joined the chamber, now where's my business? And, you know, none of those conceptions are right, but not all of them are misconceptions. You should have expectations from your chamber. They should be a resource. They should help you with improving your business. They should help you in your ability to reach out. And they should be a sounding board for you. So that's what I try to do. And that's what I try to open. But the biggest thing is you still got to do the work. You know, the thing that really kills me is, yeah, you know, we're thinking about not, you know, rejoining, or I'm not thinking about joining. You know, what's the value? Well, the value is the opportunity to be able to utilize the resources, to be able to go to these networking events and all the events that we put on. I mean, we put on 16 different events throughout the year, not to mention workshops that we have every second Friday of the month, specifically for small businesses, and allowing them all of the resources that they would need on every single subject, from social media to taxes to HR to how do I get time within my daily schedule? How do I set those goals to be achievable? But, you know, the chamber's just there to supply that. If you don't go and utilize it, well, then that's your own fault.
No, and I'm glad that you said that, because that was, you know, I mean, I can trace my very first lead back to the chamber, Danville Area Chamber of Commerce. And that was because I showed up. And I was very, very active, you know, in my first I'd say 2.5 years or so. And that was just kind of, I mean, it was just something that it was very obvious that you saw the same people usually at these events, is because they were putting their work in, they're putting their time in, they're building relationships, they're being seen. And, you know, there was a good probably 8 months to a year where I kind of really didn't come around very much, and I wasn't super involved, and I was very busy in my own life. And that's when I noticed that, you know, I you know, lost touch with a lot of chamber members that I'd become friends with, or, you know, we had mutual business interests and all that. And, you know, I come back to the chamber now, and there's just all these fresh faces, and, you know, a lot of people that I was, you know, heavily involved with, they're now board members. And, you know, so, you know, it really is what you know, you get what you put into it. And, you know, there's so many great people that have really risen through the ranks at the Danville area chamber. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing that I've noticed. It's like, you know, they have so many great resources. There's so many great people. You know, you and your staff are there to do whatever anybody needs, but you have to ask. You have to be there. You know, you have to you know, put some skin in the game, so to speak. So, so I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I know it's difficult. It's hard because, you know, you got to make the time, and you know, you do all those things. But that's, you know, like one of my biggest pet peeves is we do all these resource events, we do these great workshops, and everyone's like, oh yeah, this was so awesome, thank you so much. And I see him at the next workshop, and I'm like, so did you implement? Oh no.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. So, you know, recognizing that and understanding it, and not taking it personal, and really looking at it and looking at what folks can do. I said, okay, well, we're getting really good traction with the workshops. People are getting a lot of value out of it. So how do we give it more value? So we've extended it to a lunch and learn. So every second Friday of the month, we do our resource workshops down at the Vets Hall. And then that following Wednesday, we have a lunch and learn at the chamber offices. And we do a deep dive into whatever that workshop was. So for January, for instance, we did marketing for 2019. And how do you utilize social media throughout the entire year? So we went through all of that. We said, okay, here are some of the things that you need to look at when it comes to your brand, whether it's color, whether it's tones, themes and statements. And great presentation put on by Tess Owen from Omni Social Media. And then we had the lunch and learn that next Wednesday. And we actually went through and planned out themes for every single month of the year. So everybody that went there, it was a working lunch. Everyone had their laptops out, they had their sheets out, and we planned it all out. So for the chamber, every single month, all social media, planned, scheduled, we're done. So just think about that. You know, that was an hour-and-a-half lunch where everyone that came, they got more than the value, right? Because they just saved themselves. If I said to you, okay, Barrett, you get an hour and a half to schedule all your social media for the entire year, can you do it? Now, will you do it? Right?
Yeah.
So you're going to spend 30 minutes here doing this for social media, and then you're going to spend 20 minutes there, and then 15 minutes there, and then all of a sudden you just spent 2 hours for just February. But you could have done an hour and a half for the entire year.
Yeah.
And going back to that value statement that we talked about earlier, where is it? Right. So, you know, that's one of the things. So I'm really trying to look at, okay, how can I help people with their actions, and make it successful?
Yeah. And that, you know, that brings up a great point when you talked about people come to these lunch and learns, or they, you know, or they come to guest speakers and things like that. And you say, oh, well, you know, did you implement it? And they go, no. Do you think that there is a coaching information overload that happens for people? Like they get, you know, there's probably too many cooks in the kitchen as far as they're, you know, they have coaches for all these different things, and they read all these books, and they have all these seminars they go to, and then they just have all this information, but there's no it's almost like, I think sometimes people feel good about having the knowledge and they get excited about it, but when it comes to actually doing it, it's just like a whole different story.
Yeah.
And have you come across that quite a bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, to 90%, it's the action, right? And that's why I try to have all of our speakers end with, okay, these are the actions to take. Because without it, you get that great energy and, wow, this is so wonderful. But if you don't have something that you can follow and that you can subject yourself to,
Right.
it's not going to be effective.
Yeah.
So yeah, the action has to be there.
Well, it's almost kind of like, bringing it back, since we are in just barely in 2019, it kind of comes back to the New Year's resolutions, right? So if you're, let's say, trying to lose weight, and so you need to eat differently, you need to exercise, cardio and weights, all those things. But if if you have no plan in place, and if you don't have anybody to guide you through that, then you're going to buy a fridge full of food, and then it's going to go to waste because you don't know what you're supposed to eat, when you're supposed to eat it.
Yep.
So what would you say to somebody who's kind of on the fence, kind of just pivoting back to consulting? What would you say to somebody who's on the fence about hiring a business coach or consultant, kind of along those lines, like a personal trainer, somebody to keep you accountable, check in with you, and then also give you that plan?
Well, I think that's really it. You got to sit down with somebody, and you got to see that, for one, you have the rapport, that they can deliver on your needs, and you fit into their framework of how they consult or how they coach. And then look at that plan and make sure that that plan has action for your success, because that's really what it is. I am not a life coach. I can give you a life coaching lesson just about anything. I've been through enough that, I probably have an example from my own life that I can help with. But that's kind of the gravy. That's on top. I'm really about, let's set a plan so that it's actionable, so that you can see your success, but more importantly, you can see your failures. You can see what you need to work on, because that's the only way that you learn how to stretch your own goals. I've got one person that I consult with, and they're like, oh, this was so great. This last month I did this, and they're just, yeah. And I feel great about it. But then I also have to be that one that says, yeah, you know what? You did well. That was good. Well, it's not good. We're 3 times better. Like, yeah, but you sold yourself 5 times short. So, hey, let's raw in that moment. But the simple fact is that you came out average. So let's continue that action, because we continue that action, we continue that plan, then you're going to be 5 times greater than the 5 times.
So let's kind of pivot from chamber, and we'll kind of touch upon that when we close this out. But I wanted to know, since I do run a video production business, one of my favorite things is talking about movies, obviously. So what is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's got to be Star Wars.
Awesome. What do you think about all the new, kind of the fact that Disney bought them and now they're producing a lot of Star Wars content? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a great thing, because it continues the story. I remember as a kid reading the Star Wars comic books, which were a subset of the actual Star Wars books. And I remember, telling my friends, this isn't even the first story. It's just the first movie. But, all this other stuff happened. And they're like, no, it didn't. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's go to the library and I'll show you.
Yeah.
You couldn't just Google it.
Right, right.
We had to go get those little cards and figure out our binary codes. But,
yeah.
that movie for me was awesome. And I was there for the whole blockbuster thing. We sat in line for, I want to say, like 8 hours. It was crazy, but it was fun. I was young, and we got to camp out, and then we watched this awesome movie with these awesome effects that you'd never seen before. And the most important part was the story, and how you can connect with the story, regardless of who you were or who you are. you can connect with that story, because it's, here's somebody that is fighting and struggling through everything that they do. And that's what everyone really feels like every single day. Regardless of how great it is, there's always some sort of negative basis on it, or bias on it, or turn and change. Tom Brady just won the Super Bowl. The guy has won 6 Super Bowl championships. And what do people say? Well, yeah, jerk.
Yeah.
Right?
He's a cheater.
Yeah, he's a cheater. He would have never been able to do it without the refs. You know what? He wouldn't have been able to do it without the team around him, without his coaches, and all the dang hard work that he does. Because you know what? I'll challenge any 41-year-old to run out there and be chased by guys much bigger than me and much faster than me. And to make a successful career out of it, and to be able to do, that's absolutely ridiculous what he has achieved. So why can't people just bask in that? Just like you bask in the glory of Star Wars. The movie is awesome. I actually had the soundtrack when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and we would just listen to it. Me and my cousin would listen to it while we were watching Wheel of Fortune and doing whatever else, or we couldn't really listen to it outside because back then there were no portable speakers. So we actually had this old school giant stereo, like a stereo was like a full console.
Right, yeah.
And then it had a cassette player in it. So then we'd put the cassette player in and just crank it up as much as possible at my grandma's house and leave all the windows open and the door open, and we'd be outside playing wiffle ball or whatever it was we were playing. And that would last through probably about the 5th song, and then she would come in and just turn it off.
Yeah.
It would get yelled at, and it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, Star Wars, it's I wasn't into it when I was a kid. It was something that was just kind of on. I was like, oh, okay. It was like a fun movie to watch. And then my friends in high school were really into it. And that was, so Phantom Menace came out like 99. And so I was like, all right, we're going to go see this. We're going to stand in line. I better go back and really watch this and get into it. And that's never looked back.
Yep.
Those are such great movies. I'd say Star Wars, as far as the actual Star Wars movies, I'd say, we'll just geek out real quick. Why not? Probably Empire Strikes Back, number 1. Probably the original Star Wars or New Hope or whatever, would be number 2. And then I'm going to actually say Rogue One is number 3. I know that it had some issues in post-production and the alternate endings and all that, but that, seriously, I can watch that movie over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I just watched it yesterday.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I watched it for like the 16th time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. No, I love Rogue One.
Yeah.
I think it's right up there too, and I think I'm at the age and I'm at the place where I can just enjoy things. I don't have to sit there and go, wow, I can't believe that they did that.
Yeah.
Why do they have this person, and what are they truly trying to say in Phantom Menace?
Yeah.
Right. There was all of this talk about, racial cloning and whatever. Just enjoy the movie.
Right, exactly.
It's just a story.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah.
And enjoy. But I would put Rogue One up there. Actually, like Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
I'd put that at 3.
Okay.
Then I'd put Rogue. And then I'd put Return of the Jedi. And then everything else, I think I'd just line up.
Yeah.
Right next to itself. I loved Han.
Yeah.
I loved Solo. Thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I want to see Boba Fett. All of them.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and then the Star Wars land in Disneyland, that's gonna be huge.
Yes.
That's
I was actually it's another fun little tidbit. So when they first started with Disney taking over Star Wars, they opened Star Tours at Disneyland. So I was there for the opening of Star Tours.
That's right.
And it was a 3-day the park was open for the first time ever, 24 hours for all 3 days.
Wow.
And me and my buddy Jason, we were there for 2 of the nights. So we probably spent somewhere around, it had to have been about 20 hours.
Wow.
Over the course of that weekend. And, you know, we went on the Star Tours ride probably about 5 times. But they had a nightclub going and kids dancing. And
yeah.
It was awesome. But yeah, I can't wait until that opens up. Actually going to be down at Disneyland this week. So we'll be checking it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, when that opens up, I will definitely be there with the kids and the family.
Yeah.
My daughter loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
She's got a life-size Chewbacca on her wall in
Oh,
her room.
nice. Very cool.
Her favorite is Return of the Jedi.
Okay. Yeah.
And after that's Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary that my 13-year-old is that dark.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But yeah, she loves it too.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith was definitely dark. I think Rogue One's the darkest.
Oh yes.
Just because, well, I won't spoil it, but yeah, it's just not your typical Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely more of a war movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's great. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Star Wars. So here's a fun one. If a movie was made of your life, who would play you?
Oh, well, that's a difficult one because I'm not necessarily a cooker cutter person that you can cast for.
Maybe.
I would say if you want to meet my complexion and my stature, probably the closest person would be O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Yeah. So he played Ice Cube. He's Ice Cube's oldest son.
Yeah.
He played Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton.
Yep.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been in some other stuff too, and he's great.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah. He's a great actor. He's a great performer. So his rapper name's OMG. And it was kind of cool. I didn't get to go to the concert, but I saw a video of the concert, and it was him and his dad.
Oh, very cool.
Rapping, and that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for fun, I have before we let you go, so we're gonna do a little trivia game.
Okay.
So I got 3 cards here, and they're quotes.
Okay.
And each one you get right, you get a $5 gift card to Pete's.
Ooh, all right. I like Pete's.
So we'll start off with an easy one, and they might get a little harder, but who knows? We'll see.
You know, easy is a subjective word.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So first one, quote, "You're gonna need a bigger boat."
Oh, Jaws. Come on.
Cool. All right. I know it was easy. I wanted you to win something. All right. So that's $5 to Pete so far. So here's a good one. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Oh, Goodfellas.
Very good. That's $10.
See, I had to think it in my head with his accent.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yep.
And it's like I know it's probably cliche for some people because I'm sure not everybody likes it, but every time I watch it, I watch the whole thing and I'm like, this is just a great movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, super. And the fact that it's based on a true story, it's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, for a $15 gift card to Pete's. Well, $5 to make it 15.
Yeah.
Math is not great. Show's been canceled. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, but John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
Oh, Jurassic Park.
Is that your final answer?
No. Yeah, Jurassic Park.
Yes, you're correct.
Yep.
All right, boom. Got them all 3. All right. How on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy were those though?
They were fairly easy for me.
Okay.
Not necessarily for other folks. So I've got ties to every single one of those movies.
Okay.
So Jaws is my second favorite.
Nice.
And I am a shark fiend, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in 3rd grade, I had already finished every single shark book at the Del Mar library. Like I had gone through every single one of them, and I actually got the librarian to order some new ones for me.
Oh, nice.
So I was totally into sharks. Jaws came out, totally into Jaws. For Jurassic Park, that was actually the first date for my wife and I.
Oh, very cool.
So we went to the premiere for Jurassic Park. It was our very first date, and we've been together ever since. So
That's awesome.
over 25 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. And what about Goodfellas?
Goodfellas was the movie in college. So we had to give you an idea of how many times me and my buddies watched that movie. I was the chef of the house, so I did all the cooking. I made spaghetti bolognese using a razor to slice the garlic.
Wow.
And since that moment, that was, so you gotta slice the garlic, dude. You gotta slice the garlic. Right. So yeah, that's how much we watch Goodfellas.
That's great. Yeah, that's an iconic scene because I think some people probably go, "Oh, that's what jail's like."
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Not for everybody.
No, that's connected jail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just wrapping up here. So how can people find you? At your consulting business?
So for my consulting business, you can go onto my website. It's rzpconsulting.com. And you can reach me at Zae at rzpconsulting.com as far as email goes. So, and then if you want to reach me at the chamber, then it's CEO at danvilleareachamber.com. And that's also the website, danvilleareachamber.com. And it's area because we also include Alamo, Blackhawk, Diablo, as well as Danville. So we've got a pretty good geographic area. So we make sure that it's the area and not just Danville.
Very cool. And what are some upcoming events for February?
So we've got our mixer this Thursday. So every second Thursday of the month, we have our mixer at different locations. So this one is at the studio over in the Rose Garden. Always a great mixer. They put on a great presentation, plenty of room. You also get to check out the studio itself, and it's a great establishment. So we expect to have a lot of folks there. So a lot of folks for me is like 100, 120.
Yeah.
So I heard one person say, "Oh yeah, there are a lot of people at that mixer. There was like 20," and I was like, "We've got more than 20 ambassadors, so we better have a lot more than that." So that one's on Thursday, and then that following Friday for our workshops. So second Friday of every month, we'll have a HR workshop. So this one is titled "HR Says Yes," because we all know that HR always says no. So this presentation is really concentrating on what HR can do and what HR can say yes to, as opposed to going through the gamut of all the no's.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty exciting. Kira Fike from Ignite HR Solutions will be putting that on. And then the following Wednesday, of course, we'll have the Lunch and Learn on February 13th at the chamber. And then you'll have to go onto our website to see our ribbon cuttings, because we've got, I think, 5 or 6 ribbon cuttings scheduled for this month.
Yeah.
Which is always a great event. Sometimes I believe that it's better than a mixer because you really get to meet folks and really learn about businesses. But we've got Danville, so Fit Body Boot Camp for Danville. They've been in business for a year, but this is one of those great stories. They didn't have a location. So she worked and she worked and she worked, and now she's got a location, and now we get to celebrate that with her. Shred 415 is having their grand opening and ribbon cutting. Who else do we have on the docket? Danville and Blackhawk Magazine. They will be celebrated at Auburn Lounge, and this is a ribbon cutting, but also anniversary, but also a new form, because for the first time ever, that magazine that's distributed directly to the communities will also have a digital aspect. So they're really excited about that. And that's pretty much it for February. Then we'll pop into March, and we've got some great things going on there. We'll have, once again, another series where I'll actually be doing the presentation for the workshop, and that's on work-life balance. So if you don't have time for that, then you must go, because that means that you don't have work-life balance. So that'll be March 8th at the Veterans Hall.
Yeah.
And then we also have the State of the Town, the end of March, I believe March 28th. And that's where we're going to sponsor and host the town of Danville and the mayor to come out and let us know what's going on in the community and what we have to look forward to in 2019. So that's always an awesome event.
Very cool. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Zae, for coming on and doing this, for being the first one and the only one, because we're canceled again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do for the community. I've been involved with the chamber for over 4 years now, and the chamber president before you is a really good friend of mine, and she was huge for my career. And you're just a continuation of doing things for me that have helped my business, but also putting your own spin and doing new things as well. So I really appreciate all that you do, and I look forward to many more years of doing that.
Thank you, and I really look forward to watching your business grow.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We will post this on YouTube, and then also I'm looking for a platform to post just the audio file for those of you that don't have work-life balance and are always driving. So again, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, as well as whatever audio sharing format I decide. So anyway, thanks again.